I want to talk to somebody in charge. You are not fooling anybody when you say that what happened was a natural disaster. You're lying. It was not an earthquake. It wasn't a typhoon. Because what's really happening is that you're hiding something out there. And it is going to send us back to the Stone Age. God help us all.
In 1954, we awakened something.
Well, there's nuclear tests in the Pacific. Not tests.
They were trying to kill it.
You have no idea what's coming.
Can you kill it?
The arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control. And not the other way around.
I don't love it, and I'm a little scared of the trolling I know that's going to incite. So before that begins, probably already has begun, but I implore, some of you at least, to listen to my reasoning, because I'm not trolling. As you might recall, I gave the first trailer an excellent review. I was all over that thing. I loved it. So what's the problem here? Well, actually, a lot of it stems from that first trailer, and I think an obstacle that this movie is unknowingly set up for itself, and that is realism. So, if you'll go with me here, if you'll allow me to explain, if we can have an open discussion about this, because we all want the same thing. We all want a good movie. I'm going to explain myself now. I'm going to come out, and we're going to have a nice, friendly discussion about this, and there'll just probably be a few trollers down there, and that's fine. Haters going to hate. All right, so remember, we all want the same thing here. We all want a successful Godzilla film for Legendary and Warner Brothers. We don't want Pacific Rim 2, which did a great job of pleasing the fan base, the very same fan base. But what Pacific Rim was not able to do was to cross over to the mainstream, at least in most of the country. It did very well in China. The Chinese mainstream loved that movie. But still, at the end of the day, it pretty much only broke even. Godzilla needs to do more than that. Now, what it has going for it, what I like so much about the first trailer, is that I felt that finally, as I said, someone else had managed to duplicate what makes Christopher Nolan such a great blockbuster director. The sense of realism. And at the same time, without looking like they're ripping off Christopher Nolan. That in and of itself is extremely valuable. And still, because of that, I still have intense interest in this movie. I haven't given up on it yet either. I'm hoping that the problems I'm about to address will be fixed in a later trailer, or at least hopefully in the film itself. But right now, I see a problem in that, as I said, I don't see an appeal to the larger mainstream audience here. I think that's your big problem. I think there are some Godzilla fans who are like, finally, a realistic approach to Godzilla. This is so amazing. But then I think there are mainstream fans who aren't familiar with Godzilla who go, Godzilla's not a realistic idea. And that's where you might have your problem here. Godzilla might not be something you can have this realistic application to. It just might not make sense. Now, when the trailer started out, let me explain in detail how this unfolded for me. When the trailer started out, I was like, cool, great visuals, Bryan Cranston's freaking out, he's sounding very Heisenberg-y. This is awesome. Finally, Bryan Cranston has found a good film role. This is going to be amazing. I love the idea. They said we weren't atomic testing. I believe that's Sally Hawkins with the line. We weren't doing atomic testing in the 1950s. We were trying to kill this thing. But enter plot point, plot hole number one. if they were trying to kill this thing in the 1950s, where has it been? I think that should have been addressed a little bit because right away, it takes me out of the story. And now again, I think this is like Shades of Gravity and Frozen all over again. There are some of you who are like, whatever, it's a Godzilla movie, lighten up. But then there are others of us who are really, really into story. And again, when you try and make things super realistic, this becomes even more important that want things to fit together. This can't be like Thank You for Smoking, that really funny line when they're like, Rob Lowe wants to have cigarettes in space for, like a marketing, product placement. And they're like, but you can't smoke in space. And he's like, well, just add a line that says, thank goodness we invented that so-and-so thing that allows you to smoke in space. You can't do that in a movie like today's movie making. I think movie making audiences are more sophisticated. You just can't have statements of facts in a movie that create your universe. You have to have logic set up. Things have to make sense. And right now, that's what's bothering about this trailer in a nutshell. It doesn't make sense. The hyperbole coming from Bryan Cranston, which, by the way, is very compelling, but it just gets extremely deflated and almost comical when Godzilla, teeters into frame. You're like, this is what you guys were talking about? This is what you can't kill? I mean, it's a slow-moving, more lizard-like than dinosaur. It's not even as agile as like a T-Rex. You're talking more like Triceratops, Brontosaurus here. The thing hardly moves. It doesn't seem to have a brain. It's not like a really intelligent monster that's gonna go Rumpelstiltskin on us and challenge us to 3 questions or like Gollum. And speaking of, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, I'm gonna get to that in a moment because I think some of you are gonna see a precedence already set here by Smaug, who was also indestructible, but that's a fantasy film with a much lower, grade of weapons that have been developed. This is today when we can launch things at almost tremendous speeds. So I find it very hard that they can't penetrate the skin of this animal because it's not solid, it's malleable, it's skin, it moves, it flexes. So you're telling me you can't pierce it? And it's cool, sure, when he smacks the F-16 or fighter jets out of the sky, but just do a surprise attack. What are you flying so close to him for? We have warfare today that has evolved to the point where it's long-distance warfare. That's what America specializes in. And we still have to get up close and personal with a really slow, as I said, slow-moving, seemingly, sorry if I'm assuming this about you, Godzilla, stupid lizard. It's just, I feel Gojira fans, and a lot of people, believe it or not, Gojira fans, don't even know what I'm talking about when I refer to Gojira, which is, Godzilla, another word for Godzilla. But other people are not going to be like, oh, it's so cool to see Godzilla in a realistic environment. They'll be like, Godzilla doesn't fit in this realistic environment. I just think that's a major problem. So that in a nutshell, as I said, is my problem with this. I don't see the correlation between the hyperbole that's used to describe this threat and a monster I feel you could probably easily distract like a baby, maybe get it to go over there. Why is Godzilla on a rampage? Now, there's a theory floating around that there's multiple monsters in this trailer. You just can't quite tell. That's why they're hiding it. Fine, but from what I recall from these movies, none of them are that smart. None of them are that fast. It's more of a disaster movie, like an animal comes through town, like on a stampede, a super uber-sized stampede. I don't know how that threatens the entirety of the Earth. Now, it kind of worked in Pacific Rim, believe it or not, despite my having some problems with the story logic there in that movie, largely in the screenwriting. Because it worked there because the animals seemed smarter, they were very fast, they were genuine combatants, and they were aliens. So if you're going to tell me some alien skin can't be penetrated, I can kind of go along with it. And then you're getting into sci-fi territory. This is I guess it is sci-fi as well, but it's earthbound sci-fi. You have to follow the things that exist on Earth. I guess you could say there's some element you aren't aware of that exists on Earth, but you still have to play by Earth rules. Also, I would like to note, I hope these special effects aren't quite done. Because again, if you're going to have a super realistic movie, the special effects on that Statue of Liberty shot looked super fake. Wow, way below even B-movie quality these days in terms of special effects. That was something else that I was concerned about. I think that the director here is making interesting choices. I think he's making interesting visual choices. I still think about that wonderful sky jump from the first trailer when they had the red smoke tails. And I'm like, that was amazing. That was just so epic with the soundtrack choice that was chosen. It just all came together so perfectly. And then I guess I didn't think about what would happen when the smoke cleared and there was Godzilla. And I guess, we were expected, I didn't expect this to be more than one battle, I guess. I'm just having trouble, as I said, wrapping my head around the reality of a situation that seems so unreal. So I think that's what I feel. I just want to check my notes to make sure. Oh yes, as I said, Batman, Christopher Nolan, I want to make this point clear. Christopher Nolan succeeded because Batman seemed like he could be real. He could actually exist. He made Batman seem like a real person that you could see swinging through the night sky. That was so compelling about that movie. That's what won everybody over. That's what made mainstream people who usually aren't into superhero movies go, I like this because of that. They managed to make it connect to my life. And that's what I think Godzilla needed to do, or needs to do. And maybe it will in a later trailer, or maybe even hopefully at least the movie itself. People need to feel, what would it be like if Godzilla were to come around the side of that building? Not think to themselves, well, if I was asked to take down Godzilla, I would think of these pretty obvious solutions, which for some reason aren't in this movie. So I'm nervous, and I know a lot of you super fans and uber fans and fanboys, all those terms for people who are really into this kind of stuff. I think I'm kind of on the line between mainstream moviegoer and hardcore fanboy. I kind of think of myself as a movie independent, I guess you could say. And I know that you guys are going crazy over this, but I'm honestly feel that this is going to have the same problem that Pacific Rim did, only it's going to be even more tragic because Guillermo del Toro kind of like still worked within his wheelhouse, and he's been accepted other times, so it's just like, this time it didn't work, Guillermo, go find something else to apply your wondrous creations to, like a Pan's Labyrinth, which everyone thought was just enchanting. This is a new film, it would be a second, kaiju flop for Legendary, and I think it would be a Godzilla-sized flop. And I did the Godzilla experience, by the way, at San Diego Comic-Con, and that was a lot of fun. I really liked the way that was done, and again, but it was just one thing. It was one walk through a city. This idea that Godzilla is going to destroy the whole globe, life as we know it, almost like this is Planet of the Apes style destruction. Caesar's like freaking smart. Caesar, you can see the wheels turning. You can see his mutant ape revolution. That's what that story is about. A brilliant competitor who's competing with us for life on this earth. Godzilla just seems like he's looking for food. I don't think Godzilla's like, Earth is mine, humans. I'm puny humans. I'm going to step on you. I think Godzilla doesn't even really know where he is, probably, or he just thinks this stuff is in his way. And I think that the movie just maybe is overreaching. Maybe it's taking itself too seriously. Maybe Godzilla can't be a serious subject. I'm very curious how you guys feel. Again, I hope you've been kind. I think that, this, again, Frozen, Gravity, we've had our disagreements in the past. I kind of came around on Man of Steel. Remember that. Some of you have a very selective memory when you're remembering things I've said. I came around on Man of Steel at least halfway. I thought there were really stuff to salvage there after all, including Henry Cavill. But I had major problems with Gravity and Frozen because from story angle and story logic problems, and I feel I'm starting to have that same problem here with Godzilla. So I'm just curious which way the chips are falling. Sometimes everybody agrees there are story problems, and sometimes people are just so enamored with what's going on that they forgive it. But the question is Godzilla that friendly to mainstream audiences? Is he as friendly as Elsa singing Let It Go, which everyone can relate to? And is it as relatable as, the amazing 3D special effects in Gravity? Or are people just going to say, it's another monster movie, and I didn't like the Matthew Broderick one, and I didn't like Pacific Rim, and, I just think that Godzilla, you should be able to take him down pretty easily. I'm still not convinced you can't take him down pretty easily. So write your thoughts down below. Thank you for listening to my logic, those of you who did, my thought process on this. It's evolving. It will change with trailers as they come out, or maybe it won't change. We'll see. It's all based on the things that are revealed, but I feel this trailer should have had better logic. And I think I suspect they're holding back to surprise us. But again, as I've said before on the show, if nobody shows up to your movie, you can't surprise them. So unless it's one hell of a surprise, and then word of mouth helps you out. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm counting on this movie. That first trailer was so amazing. I just can't give up on it. All right. Thank you for waiting for this review. And I hope you'll check out all the Oscar content this weekend. Bye.